Welcome to Teagasc Ballyhaise Agriculture College. You join us here in County Cavan, a beautiful, cold spring evening. The cherry blossoms are beginning to flower, the birds are singing, most importantly it's dry. Tonight we'd like you to ask questions, send them in to us and we'll ask our panellists. My name's John Kelly, I'm the college principal here. We are in workshop 3. Our second year students use this workshop every day for fabrication and learning skills. That's our courses. They're skills-based programs, and that's the whole purpose of this evening, to explain to you about our programs. Let's go and meet the panellists. And now I'd like you to meet Arthur Keynes. Arthur, you're one of our technicians here. We'd just like you to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, my name is Arthur Keynes. I'm the forestry technician here. I have been the forestry technician here for about 16 years now. I started off in St. Pat's years ago as a machinery technician, and then it was closed up and I was moved here then to Ballyhaise, where I did a spell on machinery, and then the forestry technician job came up, and the change is as good as rest.
That's it. And Arthur, you're very hands-on. You have an interest on machines and...
Yeah, I've worked with machinery all my life, and the forestry machinery is a wee bit different than agricultural machinery. It was different from chainsaws right up to, as you can see here, we have a John Deere simulator for harvesting and forwarding machinery.
And Arthur, I have one of the Twitters that I put out today was showing a machine that I hadn't seen before. We have a selection of forestry machinery here on one of the benches that our second year mechanisation students have made. And you might just explain to our viewers what this machine is.
Yeah, it's a small petrol winch that you can carry in on site. Before that we had a heavy hand winch with wire rope. It's replaced now with this. It's about 20 kilos, this winch, and the rope is made of nylon, so it's a lot lighter and easier to carry into awkward sites.
Yes.
We would use this machine for felling large trees and maybe pulling trees out of the way.
Yeah.
So
and machines, they go hand in hand with forestry. So I suppose that's something we'll talk about as the evening goes on, about some of the skills and a lot of those involved working with machines as well.
That's right, yep.
So we're going to move on now, and I'd like to talk to our first panellist tonight. And we caught up with Shane earlier last week out on site. So we have a short video here to view.
My name's Shane Mcguire. I come from Kirkcaldy, County Monaghan. I always had love for forestry at a young age, maybe I was 13 or 14. I worked with a neighbour for a while, blocking firewood, and he was cutting a few trees. When I finished sixth year in secondary school, I got interested and I seen Ballyhaise forestry crop up. It seemed very hands-on, and as soon as I got into it, it was great. We got the chainsaw course done maybe in the first month, and just went from there. It was great. So it was level 5 forestry. We covered a lot. It was like high pruning, formative shaping, planting trees, thinning in forests, the likes of that. It was very hands-on and it was a good practical course. What we learned was all the different types of trees. And that was very interesting because it was some of the trees I hadn't knew at the time, and it was very interesting to learn more about them. And staff and everybody around Ballyhaise is very friendly, all very friendly. Made lots of friends. Forestry wouldn't be a big community, so you all know each other and you all get on well. The facilities, great forestry room, the workshop, and then outside more trees and forestry and bits of forest walks and different things like that. Use the forestry simulator, the forwarder and the harvester simulator. It was very good. It was very hands-on as well. Very much like a real machine. It was very interesting and a bit of crack to use as well at the same time. I'm actually a tree surgeon. I'm climbing trees and pruning trees, and a bit of a groundsman as well, doing a bit of chipping and stuff like that, wood chipping. And chainsaw work, a bit of cutting trees or ringing or blocking or stuff like that. I've only recently got a job offer for being a harvest manager down in Wicklow. They're based in Wicklow. We're looking for somebody around Tipperary. I've got the job offer and it'll be interesting to see what it's like. I really enjoyed my time in Ballyhaise. It was great. It was a great learning experience. So it was. I knew nothing about forestry really when I was going in, and there's a lot more things that I know now.
So, okay, before we talk to Shane, just to remind you, the whole purpose of tonight is you, the viewers. We have this event live to be able to answer your questions. The questions will pop up here, so please get them in, and we'll ask the questions to both Arthur and Shane. Shane, you're actually out on site working as part of your level 6.
Yeah.
And interestingly, on that video, you said that you've already got a job. Just tell us about that.
Yeah, well, the job application came up, it was sent through my email, and it was a job application for a harvesting manager based in Wicklow. And it's just something different, I suppose, and I'd like to try it and see what it's like.
Yeah, and you're going to be based in Tipperary.
Based in Tipperary, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. And the job market within forestry, it's buoyant at the minute. There's quite a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, definitely, especially with harvesting side is coming up more. There's more, we're getting more sites being able to harvest as well, different things like that.
Yeah. Shane, I noticed in that video, a lot of what you do, you have to be very conscious of safety, both you and your co-workers. What have you learned about safety on your courses?
Well, the first thing is PPE. We're given that in level 5, helmet, trousers, gloves and chainsaw boots. And you need that as soon as you start using a chainsaw. That's paramount. You need to be using that. And then harnesses, ropes, different things, and carabiners and all is you have a safe working load with it, and you need to work inside that safe working load.
Yes. Arthur, I suppose you have to be very conscious of safety as well. Like we work with a lot of dangerous machines. We've just seen with some of the machines that we have on the bench there.
Yeah, and Shane said for the going on sites too, he wants manual handling, first aid. He would have got those skills in level 5 as well. The other one there is chainsaws as well. He'd have in level 5 he would have done small tree felling, cross cutting and stacking,
Yes.
right, to standards to suit industry in this country. And in level 6 he would have done large trees and windblow.
Yes.
So he has all the relevant tickets, as you might say, for the industry in this country.
Yeah, you mentioned windblow. Like that's a very dangerous occupation.
It is, and it is a specialised cuts and it is a specialised course. And Shane has that all covered now in his level 6 for the industry here in this country.
And Shane, a big part of our programmes in Teagasc is placement and work experience and working practical experience with hosts. Yeah. You've been able to practice a lot over your 2 years with hosts. Can you tell us about your experiences in both years?
Yeah, first year I was just, it was a tree surgery. He was more an arborist. I was more the groundsman, cleaning up around him and chipping. And then now level 6, I went and done after level 5, during the summer, I done my climbing course by myself. And in level 6 placement, I got a great opportunity to go out and do a lot of climbing with the Cavan Tree Services. And they given me great insight to what climbing is like in a workplace, really.
Yeah, and climbing that's not a core part of our programme here, but you have an interest in that. And do you need to be strong? Do you need to be fit?
Yeah, you need to be fit, I suppose, and be able to pull yourself up the tree. Yeah. It's not the main thing, but it's good to have a bit of strength behind it.
Yeah, and what about the views when you're up there?
It's great views up there now, definitely, yeah.
Plus he would need also his chainsaw skills as well.
Well, that's it too.
When he would be working in the tree. Plus his
I noticed the chainsaw you brought up. There's different chainsaws, Arthur. Like, I mean,
he would have a specialised chainsaw for the job.
Yeah.
Plus his PPE would be up to standard as well for tree climbing.
Okay. So again, just make sure you get the questions. And we have one here from Pat, and he wants to know about level 5 and how do you go on to level 6? How did you move on to level 6?
Yeah, well, I done level 5, and to go on to level 6, you have to do level 5 and pass level 5, and then you're eligible for level 6, which I done.
Okay, very good, very good. Arthur, I'm just curious about there's more than just the machines too. Did you learn a lot about plants and the identification of plants?
There is indeed. There is, we'd say 50% practical and 50% classwork. In the classroom situation, you would have forest development, silviculture, forest calculations, 3AD. 3AD is a big one. They identify the conifers and the hardwoods that's in the area that's around the college here. On the practical side, then we would have the chainsaws is a big one, pesticide application, manual handling, safety, and ATVs is another one.
Yeah, and the tickets is something that's very important to the industry. You have to be qualified, and maybe explain about that.
You do to get on into different sites in the country. You must need all the tickets that's relevant for the industry. Manual handling is a big one. First aid, chainsaw. If you're going to use a chainsaw, you must have the chainsaw tickets and be competent in that skill.
Yes,
and we do all our skills to that standard to suit the industry.
Yeah. And Shane, we have a question here from John, and he wants to ask you about how long placement is. So placement in first year, how long did you do?
First year, I think it was
8
weeks, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 8 weeks, and that was level 5, and level 6 was 12 weeks.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot more placement in level 6.
Yeah, it's far more hands-on, really, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And one here from Anne, Arthur, I'll give it to you. Can you apply now, or how do you apply?
Yeah, you apply online. There's a few criteria, that for level 5. Preferably if you have the leaving cert. If you have an interest in the industry itself, you're hands-on and practical. And we do take male or female students, and the age doesn't really matter.
You have to be 17.
Yeah, 17 anyway. Yeah.
Yes.
And preferably if you have a tractor license too, is a help.
Okay, very good, very good. Going back to your video and what you talked about, Shane, I noticed you were actually here in the college at that time. The facilities that you had in the college, the trees. Can you explain about all the things that you seen while you were studying here?
Yeah, it was great array of trees and different species. The lady walked there and a lot of different trees. Bit of agroforestry up there at the back too, and a few plantations of a bit of everything. Like great variety of trees, I suppose.
Yeah. So going back to how you apply, at this time of year, it's actually the most common question that we get. How do you apply to become a student in Teagasc? And it's a question that we get phoned almost every day at this time of year. So what we've done is I've made a short video on the actual process of how to apply, and we'll just share that with you now. Applying online couldn't be easier. Go to your web browser and enter in the address bar teagasc.ie, seen here at the top. Once you're on the page, go to Education on the right-hand side and click that. Then go to Going to Colleges, and under that you'll see Apply Online. Click that. Here you see the courses along the top. So for Forestry, click here. And then you'll see Level 5 Certificate in Forestry. Click Apply here. This is the landing page where you create an account for becoming a student in Teagasc. You have to use your own email address and enter it here. It should be not belonging to the school or should not belong to anybody else. It should be your own email address. So if you do not have one, you'll have to create an email address before proceeding. Enter that here and then create a password. Make sure you keep note of this password, as you'll use it many times in the preceding months as you progress to becoming a student with us. Thank you. The questions are starting to come in. Just please keep them coming in, because Shane's still with us here and Arthur will be with us for the duration of this presentation. So keep the questions coming in. I have a question here from Patrick. How many are on the course each year, Shane? Typically, what was in your class?
Typically, it would be about 16, I suppose.
Yeah, about 16 to 20.
Yeah. Okay, very good. And the same question another question from Patrick is, do you need a driver's license? So you do.
It would preferably a tractor. If the W license for the tractor is, we would prefer that.
You need a learner permit or a driver's license. Now they're difficult to get at the minute, but again, that won't stop you applying. But you have to have a license to come on the course. We have another question. Can you stay in the college? Well, we're actually going to come back to that. I know Shane didn't stay with us. So Arthur, if you go back to the chainsaws, the sharpening the chainsaw is a skill.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you must, because there's so many different sizes of chains and chainsaws, if you don't use the right equipment for sharpening the saw, it won't work properly and it'll be unsafe. And
Shane, you were saying that you, in the video, you had a background of firewood, which a lot of our students come in here, that's where they get their first interest in timber. Yeah. It's working with firewood. And I suppose, did you learn things when you came here that you didn't know before?
Yeah, well, maybe I shouldn't know either. I learned at about 15 or 16 with a chainsaw, and probably the wrong way to learn, but as soon as I came into the college and started learning, just kind of slate wiped clean and started to learn again, learn the proper way.
And interestingly, Arthur, like Shane just picked up on that, like you have to assume that a person has no experience at all.
The best student or the candidate we could is the guy that's never used a saw. He's easiest to train.
Yeah.
The guy that's used a saw a bit, he gets into bad habits and it's hard to put him out of those habits.
Yeah.
But we do manage them and
you have to bring everybody back.
Up to a standard. Yeah.
And I always think that the first thing that you'd said to me was the importance of the PPE.
Exactly, the PPE, as you can see in the mannequin there, and the student would get that first thing that we get when they come into the college is PPE for chainsaws.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're now going to move on to our second panelist tonight, and Shane is in second year. Our second panelist tonight is in level 5. So I'll just cut into the video, and we'll see. We caught up with Daniel last week as well while he was here in the college.
So my name is Daniel Monaghan. I'm from County Tyrone. I've been a long time in England up until now. So I just come back to Ireland there last year with everything that's happening, and decided to make a change in my life. And forestry is something I've always been passionate about. I've always wanted to be in the forest as much as possible. And I was asking a local guy who works in the forestry in Fermanagh how to get into it. And he recommended this course here in Ballyhaise with Teagasc. And I phoned up and asked. The next thing I know, I'm starting last October. So before this, I was working over in England in Manchester in a big technology company, where I was leading staff development, training. I was running courses, training managers, I was working with senior executives, helping them improve their business, and basically living an indoor life in front of the computer screen, working with people, having cups of coffee all the time. It was great. And then obviously COVID came, March last year, and I came back home to Ireland, and I was working out of my mum and dad's spare bedroom on my own with a laptop all day, indoors all day, and it's just not for me, I've learned a lot from guys like that. When I first started, I didn't even know that inside an oil can there was a wee spout to pop the top off. I was unscrewing it and spilling oil everywhere, and so little simple things like that. I had never had my hands in a 2-stroke engine or anything like it, and so I've had to learn right from the ground level. I've come right back to an apprentice level, if you like, despite the fact of a degree in other things, So in terms of the staff and the support you get here, it's really exceptional. I mean, this has been a very difficult year, as I'm sure it has been for everybody. But the fact that we're still here doing this now is a real testament to the work that the leadership of the college, the staff at every level has put in to make this possible, So in terms of the balance between theory and practical, it's a very, very practical course, The theory is really geared towards what you're doing when you're out working with trees, working on sites in a wide variety of different environments. And the practical skills really are the bedrock that are going to make you useful to an employer. There's a very, very high employability off the back of this kind of course, which is what I was attracted to. And there is also a good grounding in the theory that you can build on with level 6s and also then fast tracks into institutions like Waterford, where you can continue. If you're interested in the academic side, the theoretical side of forestry, you're well placed to go and make a quick move into that direction as well. So in terms of where I go next, I'm going to come back in October for the level 6 because I want to round out this set of skills and be able to handle all the different challenges that you'll find in a modern forest in Ireland.
Keep the questions coming in. Daniel, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
I'm sure a lot of our viewers watched that video with intrigue. They were probably had a lot in common with what you described. But I'm talking about the COVID-19 restrictions over the last year. Can you just tell us about that eureka moment that you had where you said, this is not for me anymore?
Sure. Well, I was, as I mentioned, I was working in a city job for a technology company, and with COVID, I came back home to Ireland, and I ended up working in my mum and dad's spare room, and it was just very lonesome, just sitting by yourself all day indoors, looking out at the window at the beautiful weather and all that, and the garden and everything, and just wanting to be out in it.
Yeah.
I'd looked at forestry before. I'd thought about it long term as maybe a career change, and everything just sped up with the COVID.
And the land-based sector, that was probably the lure for you, the being outdoors.
Yep.
But there's obviously different aspects to land-based courses. Why forestry?
So I'm not from a farm or a farming background. but our house back in Tyrone there is in a forest. And just the more time I spent around it, the more time I spent around people who'd worked and spent their career in the forestry, it just felt like a much more achievable thing to get into, to build those practical land-based skills and to put them to work really early on in my career.
We have a question here, Daniel, I'll just share with you, is about getting tickets. Can you get a ticket for a chainsaw? That's one of the first things you've done.
That's the first ticket you get here. And, you know, that's really, I mean, the course is worthwhile after the first 2 or 3 months, so definitely you should stay till the end. But no, it's the main attraction for me. I mean, I have a degree, I've come from, you know, different educational path, but I didn't have any of those practical skills. And as was already mentioned by Arthur and the guys earlier, you need those practical certifications if you're going to be let out on site to do the actual work. And it's also just really important. I mean, I don't think anybody should pick up a chainsaw without having had some training. You know, they're very, very dangerous tools. And with the quality of training that you do get here, you end up feeling confident and aware of all the risks and understand how to manage the risks, understand how to maintain the tool. But also you can be safe and productive when you're out there in the workplace.
And Daniel would have been one of the easiest students to teach to because he had no practical experience.
Zero experience.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Daniel, I want to just explore, you just briefly mentioned when I've been talking to you last week about trees and what you've learned about trees and your own views on the types of trees that we grow in this country.
Sure. I mean, well, before I started, I would have sort of had maybe a bit of a one-sided view that, you know, we should be cutting down all these spruce trees and getting rid of them all, and, you know, it should only be oak trees and that. And there's something in that, in the sense that, like, you know, the oak is our native canopy species. Like, it's the most important tree in our landscape. It supports thousands of life forms, and it really creates a little microclimate all of its own. And it's very important for Ireland to have more of its old broadleaf forest cover back again. We've very, very little of it left. But I've come to appreciate, you know, the work of the generations of foresters who've come before me and going out around the world and finding these amazing conifer species that are so productive, that do give landowners a real option when it comes to looking at forestry as a way of changing land use in a way that maximizes their value, but also adds biodiversity and the benefits of a forestry industry to the country. So there's a balance to be struck. I think we've still got way more conifers left to plant if we want to have a sustainable industry here. But personally, I'd like to see as well a branching out into much more broadleafs than we have currently, because that's really what our native forests are made of, you know.
I have a question here about progression, that's moving on to different courses. What's your plans?
So as I mentioned, I want to be come back again this autumn for the level 6. I need those extra tickets if I want to work in the north where I'm from, and Ballyhaise will give me the opportunity to get those. And as well, I think just to round out the benefit of the experience of having, you know, the skills to work across any of the various things that could happen in a forest. You know, I'll be able to handle it all after having done that level 6 course. I know you can go on to university if that's your interest. It's not where I'm headed, I don't think. But you know, for anybody who wants that, there's definitely the opportunity to carry on and go to Waterford and other places after.
Yeah, and Arthur, you have seen many students progress into to higher education.
After level 6, then, if provided the pass, they can go on ahead to Waterford IT, further their education, you know, towards a degree, if they want to. Yeah, we will have maybe 1 or 2 every year. Maybe we'll go to Waterford.
Yes, they have to have their level 6, and then they can do an interview and progress. Very good. Daniel, the career prospects, I mentioned that to Shane earlier. It's buoyant. Where do you see a career path for yourself?
Definitely. And I mean, I'm still at the early days of figuring out where in forestry I'm best suited and what I like the most. But already, you know, I've had the opportunity to work do a bit of planting up in Donegal. And I'm currently got my work placement for the next 8 weeks, doing some inventory. So working with the electronic calipers, which are there beside the winch. So I've had a good experience of working with a tool that hasn't changed in hundreds of years, and some new digital technology full of GPS and
timber measurement.
You know, all these measurement tools that are really almost science tools, you know, scientific tools. And you know, I think you'll be well skilled after a course in Ballyhaise to go and work in any part of the industry. For myself, I see probably being an independent contractor. I do like the measurement, you know, being out there on the land. Doing the stock take and that kind of thing, I can see that being part of the future, definitely.
I have a question from Simon, and I'll give this to you too, Daniel. The balance between the practical and the theory.
Yep. So this is a practical course, and that is its main appeal, but it's definitely got a good amount of theory in it. That shouldn't put anybody off. The teaching's really good, and the support there to get to grips with the theory is definitely there if you need the help with it. But it's really important, I think, you can go and get a chainsaw certification privately yourself fairly easily in Ireland, but really without the background knowledge of how the forest actually operates from a forestry perspective, everything from how the land is laid out to what species are planted where and when. Without that kind of knowledge, you'd be maybe fit to do more damage than help a forest, really, if you just went into it and started whacking around with a chainsaw without the knowledge.
Yeah.
So you do need that theory as a base, and you get a good base of it here.
What would you say about the calculations? Do some of the students find that a little bit tricky?
I mean, well, I'm 35, so when I went to primary school, they always told me that you'll never have a calculator in your pocket when you're older, and that's obviously not true anymore. So, there's nothing in the calculations that need put anybody off.
No.
If you don't think you're academic or you're not mathematical, whatever, number one, you'd be surprised because, it's quite common sense. But it's well taught, and the tools and the calculations are all laid out for you to be able to make the most of them. You do need to do, there is a good bit of maths in it, because it's answering fundamental questions about, how much timber is there, what's its value, what's the best use of this land.
Mapping will come in there as well.
Mapping, yeah.
Well, I always think as soon as you mention euros or value, that helps people do this.
That makes sense, doesn't it? Everyone knows that, and so that is, it's a crop at the end of the day, that we're working with, and especially if you're going to go on to the upper reaches of the industry and start talking to landowners about how they might want to use their land, that there's a lot of maths that they needed in that, but.
Yeah, I have a question here from Ben. Arthur, I'll let you answer this. He's 17, so he can apply for the course, but he's trouble getting his driver's license. Is that going to make any difference?
No, it won't. He has plenty of time. He can do his level 5. It's just maybe to drive the tractor or the ATV,
we have to
have it here, for insurance purposes.
So
as well.
you have to be patient and wait for your theory tests. And I mean, obviously, it's very difficult to get these tests, but once you've applied and get it during the course, we'll look after you. I'm just going to move on. Daniel and Shane didn't live with us here, but interestingly, Daniel mentioned Fermanagh, Tyrone in his video. Arthur's from Monaghan. I'm from Donegal. Students come from all over Ireland to do the programme here, and many live with us here on site. So I have a short video just to talk about our facilities that we have. One of the common questions at our college open day is, what is it like to come and stay at Ballyhaise College? Learners can come from any county across the whole island. We have 50 bedrooms with fast fibre supported Wi-Fi. We have a TV room and games room with facilities for preparing refreshments. We have a large kitchen and canteen on site. Our chef prepares menus each day, focusing on fresh, wholesome food, but importantly, where you can get your day's food for less than €15. Outdoor activity and exercise are important for many of our learners. We have a full-size indoor sports hall and access to the local GA pitch, running track and all-weather pitch. The college recreational walks through our woodlands and also along our riverbanks. Fishing and canoeing are popular pursuits in the area and the many rivers and lakes across the county. We have strong football teams that compete in the All-Ireland competitions. Cavan Town is only a few minutes on the local bus link service. This is a typical large regional town with swimming pool, gyms, cinema and bowling alley. Cavan Town has a large student population and an exciting midweek student nightlife that goes with that. All in all, there's plenty to do on our courses during the day, but also many activities in the evenings if you get out and about and explore. If we don't get to your questions tonight, we will answer them over the next couple of days, or give us a call anytime at all. Daniel, I know you mentioned you're from Tyrone, so obviously you didn't stay with us because you're neighbouring the college here, but there's people in your class from all over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's been one of the highlights really, is getting to meet people from all over the island. And there's guys from as far south as Waterford, Kerry, Clare. There's guys up from Inishowen, Donegal, Pettigo. Myself from the north, which has been a source of great amusement for everybody. But no, yeah, it's been great to meet so many interested people from all over the island.
Yeah, and Arthur, you've seen that over many years.
Oh yeah, every year there's a great variety of guys and girls from all over the country.
Yeah. I have a question here from Cahill. I'll give it to you, Arthur. He wants to know, is there many job opportunities in the Cavan area in forestry?
Oh, there's plenty of work in the Cavan area, surely. the contractors crying out for help, who would be ringing the college here looking for students.
And for people maybe that are from farming backgrounds, and small farms, what would you advise them?
I would, you know, you can get your green cert through the course as well, provided you do level 5 and pass, and do level 6 and finish and pass as well. You know, you're eligible for the green certificate as well. That's another option as well. You can, if you know, that's another route for.
Thanks, Arthur. Thanks, Daniel. So that's us this evening. As I said, get your questions in. Lift the phone, talk to the staff here or myself. I'd like to thank our panelists tonight, Shane and Daniel and Arthur. Most of all, I'd like to thank yourselves for joining us here and spending the time to hear what we have to have on offer here in Ballyhaise College. Again, the college is open here, and we'll look forward to seeing you in July for any interviews if you apply for the course here, and look forward to you joining our courses here in September. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.